Shechiano, right? We got Ariel on. So we had the second version of the Gemara said that according to everybody, if someone inherited, and then after he had it inherited, he bought something, he bought a nice suit, and then we said he will go ahead and good morning.
Good morning.
I was thinking, said we miss you.
Thank you. I miss you too. I'll see you very soon, God willing.
Yes, thank you. Very good. If you want to send to Ariel that we're on, because I don't think we got Ariel in. Okay, thank you. We are on Samach Amen Al 60A in 60A in Berachos. Yesterday we were discussing under which circumstances a person when you buy a new suit. We know if you once bought a suit, or even though you bought a similar suit, but it's a new suit, you say a bracha, a shechianu suit, and you put on the suit. You say a shechianu on the suit, but that's not the opinion. It's not even that's the halacha. But there's a machloket in the Gemara that developed. That's the conclusion. But there was large discussion of the Gemara of whether that's so or not so. We had in the Gemara that there was a machloket. There was two different texts in the Gemara of what exactly the suit between Rabbi Yehuna and Rabbi Yochanan. And the Gemara was focusing on the second text, the Ikadi, that Rav Huna went on record and said that when you buy a new, if you bought it, every time you will go ahead and say a shechianu if you did not buy a suit before that suit. Morning, Mr. Haber. But if you bought a suit before that's similar to the suit, and then you buy another suit, you will not say shechianu. Only if he inherited the first suit. The first suit that he inherited, and this is the first time he's now buying a suit, then it's different because there's a great simcha when a person buys something. So what was before and you buy it again, it's not the same level of happiness when you didn't buy it the first time, you were gifted it the first, and that was the opinion of Rav Huna. Rav Yochanan says no. Even if you bought it the first, and this is not new, it's the second time you bought such a suit. But the fact is, it's a new suit, even if it's similar, it's saying a shechianu. That was the machlok between the two rabbis. So again, just to make it clear, one of them that even the first suit, you buy a new suit, you say a shechianu. The second, if you bought the first and you is similar, you will not say shechianu. Those are the two opinions of the Gemara. And the Gemara brought, and the Breita, the Gemara said, obviously from an earlier rabbis, Breita does not seem to fit. There's two opinions at Breita. Both opinions do not to fit with Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan's opinion that Rabbi Yochanan says, if you buy suit number one, you already bought it. You already had that experience that happened. You already bought this type of suit. Rabbi Yochanan says, and you buy another type of suit similar to this suit, that you have to say shechianu. The Gemara says he seems not to be one of the rabbis, Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Meir and the Breita, because the Breita only stated you say shechianu if he inherited the first suit. The Breita only spoke about a case. Mr. Haber always likes a case, law, and reason. You have to look at the case. And the Gemara is understanding, because he's still here. I didn't get in before. If you want to send to Ariel, says what? Very good. So the Gemara is saying, good morning, Akiva. So the Gemara is saying,
morning.
Rabbi Yochanan, the case of the Breita was when he inherited the first suit, and then he bought the second suit. There we have he say Shechianu. But the never told us that if you bought a suit and then you bought a second suit that you say Shechianu. So the fact that the Breita is talking about a case of when he inherited the first suit and then he bought the second suit, would to indicate that if he bought the suit before, he already had that experience of buying that type of suit, and then he buys a similar suit, he will not need to say Shechianu. That is the Gemara's understanding from the fact that the case is written in a certain way. When a case is written in a certain way, so the Gemara is saying, why the case that way? Why did you tell me the case when you went ahead and you bought it and then you bought another suit similar? But the fact that you tell me the case that when he inherited the first suit would seem to indicate if he bought the first suit, then he bought another suit similar, he will not need to say Shechianu. That is the Gemara's analysis at first glance by the fact that you bring me only the case that he inherited. Clear? Everybody got it clear? So that's what the Gemara, that's what we're up to in the, yes. If a dad gave him a suit, when he inherited the suit or gifted the suit, so yes, you would say Shechianu. Really, it says in Shulchan Aruch that if someone gives you something like that, you would over Hameitiv for the Svardim, because not only you're benefiting because you're wearing the suit, but your father benefiting because he gave you something, and it's good for him because he benefits by the he gave you something. That's the opinion in the Shulchan Aruch. We have to see in practice if people do that or not, but that's the opinion of Shulchan Aruch. Like he said, if somebody gives somebody because in general we said something that's personal, you say Shechianu. If I buy myself a suit, I say Shechianu. Something for the home. If I buy something special for the home that the husband, the wife, then it's hatova hameitiv. Good for me and it's good for someone's wife. But we said yesterday that there's a if somebody gives somebody a gift, a very expensive gift. So the fact, if he gave the gift to a poor person, the person who gave the gift benefits by the fact that he gave it to a poor person. Not only is it good for the poor person who got, but even the person who gave the suit is benefiting because he did the mitzvah tzedakah. So it's good for the person who got it, and good for the person who gave it. And if the person is a wealthy person who accepted the gift, the fact that a wealthy person accepts a gift, oh, great, that he accepted my gift. So therefore, it's good for the giver as well. So in that case, the receiver would say, make this. And again, right. Right, but if your father gave you a suit and it's an expensive suit, you'd say the question you might say the question is, what bracha do you say? The Shechianu is because I have it's something of importance. He gave something of great value, something that's important. It doesn't have to be $1 million. Something and you simcha. Shechianu has to do with the simcha. Shechianu v'kimanu v'giyanu lazman. You are thanking Hashem. It came to this time period in your life that you're able to have this item. You afford it, or someone gave it to you, and now you have a great simcha. You say it's like on Yom Tov. On Yom Tov we say Shechianu v'kimanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh. We're so thankful we reached this time on Chanukah. Shechianu. So it's a time of happiness, a time of simcha. So it's a great simcha. Buys a suit, who buys a suit every day will not say a Shechianu. Everybody, if a guy buys it every week, he buys another. I don't think he would say Shechianu because to him, it's really very, it's like another shirt for some people. It's every day, but people generally don't buy a suit every day, and therefore it's something of great simcha. Mr. Haber, any comment? It's based on. This is what I would understand, that it's not considered something, because again, it's simcha, something of great chashiva. If it's something that you get every day, it's not really lazman hazeh. It's something that comes every so lazman hazeh that doesn't come every day. It has to be something very special, right? That's the way I understand. So now to the Gemara. So now the Gemara is trying to explain Yochannan's opinion. That's the background. How do we explain Rabbi Yochanan, the later rabbi, who, by the way, Rabbi Yochanan was the big rabbi in the Holy Land, Israel. He was the leading rabbi in Eretz. So how do we explain his opinion, which says that even if you bought number one, you buy suit number two, even though it's similar to suit number one, but it's a new suit, Simcha, you have to say it seems not to be in sync with the Breita, because the Kate of the Breita was only by it the first time. So that's the Gemara's question. So now we're on Samach and Aleph. We're in right before lines, about 10, 12 lines from the top. Amalach Rabbi Yochanan. Third of the line is Rabbi Yehuda. It's about 10 lines, 12 lines from the top. A. Everybody has the art scroll. It would be on page art scroll. It would be 60A, art scroll. Okay. So the Gemara says, everyone have it? Yochanan, Nathan, Morris, Samach, the first word on Rabbi Yehuda. Jaime, you able to, if you see it over, Jaime, you got it? Very good. Rabbi Yehuda. Amalach Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says the following. We're going to have a beautiful idea in the Gemara coming up. Get ready, everybody. Amalach Rabbi Yochanan. Who I did? Really, in reality, the Rabbi Yehuda, Kana v'chaza v'kana nami tzarich levarach. Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you bought and then you bought again, you bought suit number one, and then you bought suit number two, and it's similar to suit number one, but it's a new suit. You have to say a shechianu. You know, some people always like to buy this. Some people have to buy the same suit. I like this, but it's a new suit. I didn't have to. Now it's new. I have to say shechianu. But so why is the case of the Breita b'yeshlo v'kana? So why is the case of the Breita that he inherited the first suit and then he bought the second suit? Why don't you tell me, even if he didn't inherit the first suit, he bought it the first suit? Tell me, even in that case, you still have to say shechianu. Remember, when a person inherits something, he did not buy it. So when you don't buy, when you didn't, the experiencing of buying is something a very happy experience. And if the person inherited a suit and then he bought a second suit, he feels great simcha, higher level simcha when he bought the second suit. Two people, one guy inherited suit number one and bought suit number two. One guy bought suit number one and bought suit number two. Which person has more happiness upon purchase number two? So the Gemara says the person who inherited suit number one and bought suit number two has greater happiness than a person who bought suit number one and then bought suit number two when they're both similar suits. Why? Because the first time if a guy inherited, he didn't buy it. When you buy something, you feel a higher level of happiness. That's what the Gemara is saying. And that's what the Gemara is trying to say. Does it reach the bar? If I bought suit number one, I didn't inherit suit number one, I bought it. Then I buy suit number two, and they're both similar suits. Is that enough on the second suit to say shechianu? That's the question of the Gemara. Is that clear? And the Gemara wants to say yes. Rabbi Yochanan would say that's yes enough. And the reason why the Gemara gave the case of he inherited suit number one and he bought suit number two. So the Gemara says, when we give a certain case, and the Gemara gives a certain case, it could tell us it's trying to tell us the chidush, the novelty of one of the people's opinion. And the Gemara says by giving the case of inheritance, it's telling us the strength of Rameya's opinion. That filu kana v'yeshlo ain't sarach levarach. Rameya is of the opinion that even though the person went ahead and inherited suit number one and bought suit number two, then that's the Rameya holds, even in such a case, you do not need to go ahead and say a bracha on suit number two. That's a great chidush. Rameya tells us a great chidush, that even though he inherited suit number one, so he didn't have the experience of buying that suit, and then he goes ahead and he buys suit number two, you would have thought that you would have to say shechianu on suit number two. So Rav Meir's opinion, even though it's not the halacha, we gave the case of inheritance to show the strength of Rav Meir's opinion. That Rav Meir holds that even when he inherited suit number one, and now he goes ahead and he buys suit number two. But if it's similar to suit number one, Rav Meir says you do not say shechianu. So we want to show us the strength of Rav Meir's opinion, and certainly if you bought suit number one, and then you bought suit number two, for sure you would not say shechianu according to Rav Meir. That's what the Gemara wants to say. The Gemara wants to say, the kol shekain kana v'chas v'kana dein tzarich levarech. So that's what the Gemara wants to say. So therefore, don't make a mistake to think that really Rabbi Yehuda would hold really in the case if you bought suit number one, you bought suit number two, you would say shechianu on suit number two. The only reason why the Gemara says why they say you don't say bracha number two, because they want to show the power of Rav Meir. The fact that they're arguing in the case of inheritance does not mean that they will not. Does not mean that Rabbi Yehuda would agree hands down by buying. If we'll be buying, everybody would agree. Bought number one, you bought number two. You do not say shechianu on number two. It's not true. The only reason why we're arguing in this case is to show the opinion of Rav Meir. So that's what the Gemara wants to say. So the fact, sometimes when you have a case, sometimes you think the fact that you discuss this case means the other case is everybody agrees. Not necessarily. That's what the Gemara wants to tell us. Not always when you see a certain discussion of a certain case means only in that case the rabbi would say, you say shechianu, in a different case you wouldn't. That's not necessarily true. The only reason why we said this case of inheritance is to show the strength of Rav Meir, how far he will go to say you don't say a bracha on the second suit. As long as the second suit is similar, I don't care if you inherited the first suit. You still will not say a shechianu on the second suit, according to Rav Meir. So now the Gemara shoots back a following question. First line before the white lines. Why don't you tell me the case when he bought suit number one? Why argue in a case of inheritance? He inherited suit number one and then he bought suit number two. Since you're telling me that the same argument would apply when you bought suit number one and you bought suit number two, so why don't they argue in that case? Why? And tell me the strength of the other rabbi. Why don't you tell me the strength of the other rabbi, that the other rabbi holds that even when you bought suit number one and then you bought suit number two, you still have to say shechianu. Tell me that opinion. Why show me the opinion that says that you do not say shechianu even when you inherited suit number one? Show me the opinion that says you say shechianu even when you bought suit number one. That is the Gemara's question. Everybody got it? There's a lot going on. A lot going on in the Gemara. You have to hold cheshbon. You have to hold, right? So the Gemara says the beautiful idea, and it's a very important idea in life. We're going to get to right now with the Gemara. Very famous statement in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to say right now. So the Gemara says, why do you show me the case to show me the strength of Rabbi Yehuda's opinion? So the Gemara says, the power of being matir, the power of permitting something is a greater strength to show. If I have two cases I could show. One case I show how somebody is strict. And one case I show the strength of how someone is lenient. Which case would I want to highlight, right? I want to highlight a case. Which case I want to highlight to show the rabbi who is strict? Or do I want to show whose opinion he feels is strict? Or do I want to highlight and show the opinion of the rabbi who's lenient? So the Gemara says, I rather highlight the opinion of the rabbi that's lenient. It's a greater, it's greater to show that. Why is it greater to show someone's lenient opinion than to show someone's strict opinion, right? We have the Gemara now. If I have two options, I need to present the case. And the question is, which case do I present? A case where the rabbi, where I show you how strict a certain rabbi's opinion is, how strong his opinion is? Or do I show the rabbi who's lenient? We rather show the rabbi that's lenient. Why? And there's a Rashi. Rashi says a beautiful, I'm going to read you the language of Rashi that's found in the Gemara in Be'ah. Rashi says like this. A person who is lenient, by the way, Moshe Feinstein, Abavadi Yosef, they were known for their power of Hatera. That's one of the things that they were known, that they were able, they had the ability to be matir. Many times they were lenient in certain situations. And it wasn't that they were lenient because they were lenient because they understood that's the halacha. That's why they were lenient, not because they're just they take they're not. It's based on strength. Meaning, being lenient is based on strength. That's what we're going to explain. Meaning, and listen to this. And he says, better to tell us the words of a person who's permitting something, that he relies on his learning. He's not afraid to permit something. Meaning, these great rabbis, they knew their learning so strong, they were confident in this is the law, and if I'm going to say it, I'm going to permit it. If this is the law, I know this is permitted. But to say something is forbidden is not a proof of the strength of your knowledge of the law. Anybody could say it's forbidden. Anybody could be strict. Even because people could say something that's permitted, they could say it's forbidden. It doesn't show who your strength of your learning. So if you want to see the strength of your learning, it's no big deal to say something's forbidden, but it's a big deal to prove that something is permitted. So maybe you need to be a person of caliber to be matir. A guy who's not of great Torah knowledge, and he says, "I want to permit this." How do you know? Do you know? Are you strong enough that you know? Do you have the ability of shak? Do you know that this is permitted? But when you ask Adam Gadal, so he knows, and therefore that's the strength. That shows great strength to permit something. You should know that Moshe Feinstein, someone criticized him for a certain halachic ruling that he wrote. So Moshe Feinstein wrote back the following. I want you to know, it's in Even Ezra, I think the second volume, beginning. Yeah, I want you to know everything I know comes from the Torah. I am not influenced, Moshe says, from outside philosophies and ideas. So whatever I'm telling you is from the Torah. The same way, it is in a distortion of Torah when something is permitted and you say it's forbidden. You say something is forbidden. You say it's permitted. So too, it's a distortion of the Torah when something is permitted and you say it's forbidden. How do you like that? And then he says, and he says, you who have been influenced from outside philosophies, that's why you come to the conclusion that you come. How do you like that? Talking strong, Mr. Haber, what do you say to that? Yeah, listen, when you permit something, you're opening yourself up. But the people who permitted people who are great were able to show, and that's why they write a tshuva, and they write a whole letter, they show their proofs. You might disagree with their proofs, but they're going to stand strong. If they want to change their mind, people have a right to change their mind. But this is based on that's the koach te'atera. Okay, I thought it's a beautiful idea. Daniel Safti is really enjoying this idea. So that's what we have to understand. Okay, let's continue in the Gemara. Mevorech al hara. The Gemara said that the Mishnah stated, we're now in the first wide line. The Mishnah stated there that there's a bracha called Dayan Ha'emet, and there's a bracha called Shechiyana V'kimana V'giyana Lazman Hazeh. And then the Mishnah said that if something is bad, but something good is going to come out from this bad action. So if it's bad today, even though later on next year something good will happen, today you say Dayan Ha'emet. You say Dayan Ha'emet. And similarly, the Gemara says if something good happened today, and it's possible something negative could come out from it in the future. But if today it's something that I feel the simcha today, I will say the bracha shehecheyanu today. That's what the Gemara says. And now the Gemara wants to explain the scenario. What is the case? That's the mevorech al hara me'ein hatova. Now for heichidami. So the Gemara says, what's the case of something? You say a dayan ha'emet on something bad that has something positive going to come out from it in the future. As we know, dayan ha'emet is recognizing judgment, right? Usually it represents something that bad that happened to someone, some misfortune that happened to somebody. But if the misfortune happened, but something good in the future is going to come out from it, we still need the person needs to say dayan ha'emet on today's misfortune. So that's what the Gemara says. What is the case? The Gemara says, Kigon, Kishashakal Bidga Ba'ara. Went ahead, the water, let's say you had something that prevented water from coming into your property, and now it opened up, and now your property was flooded. So now your property is flooded, all your produce in your property got ruined, right? So you lost. It was a great loss to your property, to your food, your grain, your plants that are in your property, your produce. So that you say, dayan ha'emet, he heard, you know what? He found out that his property got all, the produce got ruined. So he says, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. The Gemara says, he'll say he recognizes Hashem did this, and he recognizes it's all for the best, and he accepts it. Dayan ha'emet. Even though the Gemara says, Afal the tovili today, he's going to have something good's going to happen because now the land is going to be moist from this flood, and now when he plants the next year, it's going to be a very good crop. Afagav the maska ares sirton, it's going to bring very good moisture to the property, and it's going to have a very good year the following year. But Vishabcha, it's going to be improved. But for today, he lost his produce today. He had a loss today. The loss, therefore, he has to recognize. Therefore, the blessing is dayan ha'emet on the loss that happened today. The Gemara says, because hashtamir rahi, today he lost the produce. Therefore, he has to say the bracha of dayan ha'emet. And then the Gemara says the other case, something that was good today, but there might be something bad later on. Still, you say shehecheyanu today, or if it was good for you and somebody else, you say atova meitiv. Heichidami, what's the case? Kigon de ashkach mitzia. You found something. You found a item with great value. Great value. So it's something very good. I'm going to enjoy the item that I found. But you know what? The government finds out that I found this item. I didn't return this item to the government. I could get into a lot of trouble. So, you should know, I had a neighbor of mine, Mr. Leventhal of blessed memory. When he had a hobby, in Israel, he would go with a metal detector. So back in the 1970s, he was using, and he found the statue of Hadrian, the terrible king that caused a lot of destruction during the second Beit HaMikdash. And it was an amazing thing that he found. It was like a treasure, and he gave it up to the government because it belongs officially to it's thousands of years old. The value, I don't know if there's a value for it. So who knows what kind of value. It was in the Jewish Museum for a while, the statue of Hadrian. It officially belongs to the government, such a type of. So here, the Gemara says, Avagav, the Rohila today, even though there's a possible negativity that could have to happen to him, the Yishoma be Malka, because if the king hears about it, the king is going to take away this great find that you found. But Hashtamiha, and I presume not only they will take away the thing from him, they will actually, some say they would cause him trouble, distress, that you didn't notify us about this find that you found. But Hashtamiha Tovali. But now Meanwhile, the government has not found him, that he does not know that he found this treasure, and he's enjoying the treasure. He's enjoying this mitzvah. He goes there and he says the bracha v'atova meitiv or shechion or whatever, depending if it's for him or someone else, or if he has a partner in it or he doesn't have a partner. Like we said, when you have a partner in something, the bracha is atova meitiv, something very good, and if it's for yourself, it's shechion. So now the Gemara says, okay, now we have a new case in the Gemara. Just want to look back at looking back at the Mishnah for a second. Okay, look, new case in the Gemara. If his wife was pregnant, the Gemara said if someone's wife was pregnant, and he says, I want it to be that my wife should give birth to a baby boy. So the Gemara says that's called a tfilat shav. That's called a wasted tefillah, because it's already, when the lady's pregnant, it's already clear. What's that? That's what, very good. Mr. Haber says, what level of a pregnancy she is. That's what the Gemara is going to, what is the case? That's what the Gemara is going to discuss now. So the Gemara, see, the Mishnah did not mention a date of a pregnancy that she's in. So the stam language of the Mishnah sounds like did not make a distinction early on in pregnancy, later on in pregnancy. The Mishnah just says if one's wife is pregnant, and he says the ratzon that she should give birth to a baby boy, that's called a wasted tefillah. And we're not supposed to say a tefillah that doesn't make sense. We're not supposed to pray for something that doesn't make any sense. So therefore, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't pray for something that's already determined, right? If it's already determined, what's that? Talk a little louder, Nathan. We all want to hear you on the screen. So Nathan is saying, why should a person want to pray more to have a boy than to have a girl? That's the first question. Okay, you're saying it's out of your control. It might be a lot of things out of my control. I don't control how much money I make, but I pray for it. That you pray to have a parnasah. A lot of things are not in my control, but I still can pray for things. Most things, a lot of things are not. Whether I'm a God-fearing person, not a God-fearing person, that's in my control, with Hashem's help, of course. But parnasah, all those things, not. So we ask for things that is not in my control. So the Gemara's going to talk about that. But there's an idea when you have a boy, you have mitzvot of Brit Milah that comes along with the boy, and the mitzvah of teaching Torah to the boy, and we also said that the boy has the obligation of honoring his parents, even when he gets married. That level of honoring is, and the girl, we said, depends how nice a husband she has. If a husband, yeah, we had it, yeah, that if a husband is nice to his wife, he says to your wife, you know what, you could spend time with your parents. A nice husband said you can spend time with your parents. Therefore, she would be obligated to take care of her parents. But not every husband is saying spend time with your parents. And therefore, that's one of the advantages, so to speak, if I could use that word, of a son over a daughter, that why people might want a son over a daughter because of that. So whatever Hashem gives a person is a gift, but sometimes it's the prayer of the person that makes the difference in what the gift that Hashem will give them. So that's what the Gemara says. It's good to see Mr. Ajmi. So the Gemara says, "V'lo mahani rachamei." When a lady's pregnant, you're saying prayer does not help to determine whether it will be a boy or a girl once she's pregnant. The Gemara is saying, you're saying once she's pregnant, the prayer doesn't help. Meaning before she's pregnant, yes, if you pray whether it should be a boy, that would help. Whether you'll have a boy or not, pray if you want, you pray for it, that will help have a boy. But once she's pregnant, she's pregnant. It's not going to change. So the Gemara says, what do you mean by dinah? We found that the baby changed. She was originally V'amar Rav Yosef, Master Rav Yosef, V'achayad bat. After she gave birth to a daughter, Patikra Shema Dina. that Dinah, after she had 6 sons, the next child was she called Leah, gave birth to Dinah. Rav, why is she called Dinah? Dinah from the language of done, to judge. Leah made her own judgment. What was her own judgment? She says, Amra, 12 tribes are going to come out from Yaakov Avinu. Already 6 already came out from me. There's going to be 12. 6 came out from me, and we already have 4 from the other mates from Bila and Zilpah. So there's already 10 already have been born. Hare Asar Shvatim. There's 10 tribes that are born, and there's 2 more tribes that need to be born. So she said, if this child will be a boy, Rachel will not even have as many boys as the Shvachot, as Leah and Bilhah and Zilpah. Look at the sensitivity she had for her sister. So therefore she like prayed to Hashem. It should be, her mindset was there should be a girl. Miyad immediately it became a girl. Shenema v'tikra shma Dinah. She was called, they called her Dinah. She called Dinah because of this phenomenon, because of her prayer was changed from a boy to a girl. So the Gemara says 2 answers. Number 1, that's a special story of Nisan, miracles. That's a special story. Leah, miracles happen like that. The average person can't rely on miracles, therefore you don't pray for that type of thing. And then the Gemara said that story was within 40 days. And the Gemara is going to talk about within 40 days, it's different. And we'll see more tomorrow about that. Have a great day, everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining in. We had a beautiful crowd today, both on the screen and off the screen. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. Bye-bye.